know it's been a minute. You're probably like, ooh, girl, you're just not popping up on my notifications. I know, I've been away for a while, but I have some reasons behind that. But if you are new to my channel, or if you're just now seeing my face, my name is Sierra. I am a self-published author and I love writing. So this channel is all about writing, a little bit about books too, because I love both of them. This is actually my second channel. My main channel is where I talk about TV shows. I talked about books on there before, but I talk about TV shows with a little bit of psychology, mainly Degrassi. But I really just talk about different shows, TV shows, movies, things that I really enjoy and love to talk about. This channel is for writing and books. Anyway, long-winded. So let's just get into the updates. Okay, so it's been a minute, and from the last time I posted, which was a while ago, let's pull it up, see. Let's just be completely honest. Even see it. Oh, here it is. I posted was 7 months ago. So not, I was about to say not too bad. Okay, it's not the best. It's not the best, but it was a thing that happened. And the last time I made the video, I was talking about rewriting my book, Ghost of You, which I actively have been writing. And it's a better version, obviously. I actually have it over on my Substack. If you're interested in reading the first 16 chapters, you can go ahead and check it out in my description box below, or I'll like tag it up here. I don't know. But if anything, I'll put it in the description box below so you can head over to Substack to read it. I've been writing that book, and then I took a little bit of a break because I wasn't getting inspiration. I was kind of like in the I just don't care mood, nothing like depression wise, but just like numbness to it, because also I've been unemployed for a very long time, and it's very frustrating to finding a job, applying and not getting anywhere, or applying, interviewing, hopeful that it's gonna work out, and then getting ghosted, or it's been tough. Okay, it's been tough. So I feel like I stopped writing around the time when I was really hitting that fuck it mood, where I was just like, I don't care about anything anymore. We all have those moments too when it comes to just writing in general, not just like in life, but in writing, where you just like hit a wall where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I hit that wall, but then I ended up in that wall break time, I actually started writing short stories. So that's what I mainly started to do. I got inspiration actually from a post over on Instagram. It was a reel that a girl had where because I'm a witchy girl. I love spirituality. I love learning about just different beliefs and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. Like that's something that I'm really interested in. That's what I'm passionate about. And so she had a circle with the different descriptions around it, and trying to figure out who was her baby daddy. I figured it was a joke. I didn't take it too seriously, but I thought to myself, I'm like, that would be a very interesting like book idea. So I actually ended up starting to write that novella. I'm about like, I think like 9 chapters in. I absolutely love it. It's hilarious. Just the whole plot idea on its own is so chaotic and funny. And the way how I've been writing it is so freaking hilarious. Like all of the characters have such like snappy one-liners. The family dynamic is very interesting, very complex. But it's been a really interesting journey of writing that story. The other short stories I've been writing, I've gotten like little inspirations of doing those and just started writing. And one of them actually got picked up by Dandelion Revolutionary Press Journal over on Substack. And that one is The Show Must Go On, which follows 2 teenagers who are in detention, who really bond over pretty much their backgrounds and what they have experienced as teenagers in the past few months or whatever. So it's a short story. It was really fun writing it. I don't even know how that came about, to be quite honest. I just had a character in mind because the character's name I had for a different story. I just used the same name, and then something in me just like clicked and I just started writing and the story just flowed. and I really enjoyed that one. So I'm really happy that that got picked up for that. The other ones I really enjoy. I really liked writing them and navigating the different types of writing too, because I've never written a short story before prior to that one. So it was very interesting when like doing my research and just seeing like how does a short story navigate, you know, beginning, middle, and end, like how fast is it, how many words. So learning more about the writing profession in that sense of just knowing the different writing styles and different ways to write. So that's been an interesting journey when it comes to doing that kind of research. I haven't gotten the Save a Cat book yet, but I have seen a PDF page or two of it, and I believe I downloaded it. I've also just been looking up research and just learning a little bit more about writing. I actually did a writing workshop about 2 or 3 years ago. I think I still have access to the information. Shh, don't tell them. But just like using that kind of stuff when it comes to creating my characters, my stories. I follow Abby Emmons over here on YouTube. I also watch Brielle Writes, Sincerely V. There's tons of writers that I absolutely love watching, and just watching them on their journey of writing their stories, it always like inspires me to keep writing. So that's really what I've been up to for updates. But the second part of this video is just a few tips on how to get back into writing, because if you're like me, if you hit a wall or maybe life got in the way and you said, I don't have time for this, these are just some tips that I have learned along the way that helped me. Maybe they'll help you. So let's go ahead and get into them. First one is take it day by day. And I mean this with all sincerity. I love when people will have like, there are certain things that work for them. But one thing I will disagree with is writing every day. That's one tip that I have seen across the board from like a lot of content creators or even just writers in general. Publishers, everybody within the writing profession is write every day. And no, that's something I don't agree with. And it's not like writing when inspired, but writing every day. I feel like sometimes when you start to write every day, it becomes more of a habit and you're not really enjoying the process, so that you start to resent the habit of writing, because that's what I ended up doing at some point. I don't remember when, but I did start to resent writing. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll write like 100 words today. And it's like, I don't want that type of feeling when it comes to writing, and I love writing. So I started to just more listen to myself, because also when it comes to with writing my stories, my characters come to me through music, just like random moments or things where I'm thinking about something and I'm like, oh, that's how that character would have reacted to this kind of situation. So it's more so like as if I'm a medium for my characters, and they come to me when they see fit, when they're like, yeah, write that down. Or if like literally like right before I fall asleep, like a scene will come up in my head, or like how to navigate the next part of the book, or maybe a specific dialogue between characters. That's when I'm like, oh, let me at least put that in my notes. If I don't use it, I don't use it, but at least I had it written out and I got that inspiration, and they were able to communicate with me like that, and I was able to get it out. Will I always use it? No, but I'll be able to go back and maybe tweak it a little bit, especially with writing later on. If I come back across that, when I come back across that note, and I'm like, now how do I fit this in here? It's like, okay, I don't need to actually like copy and paste that scene word for word from my notes into the story, but I can start to edit it. Like, okay, that was a good start, but now that we're in this moment, or now that they have processed and thought about it, they didn't outwardly like shout or like have an argument as I wanted them to in the moment when writing that note. Maybe they're taking the time to actually like recuperate, think, or whatever, because a lot of my characters are very introspective. So they spend a lot of time thinking and reflecting on their lives and their decisions. A lot of the times, obviously, because characters are humans too. They're obviously humans all the time, depending on the kind of books you're reading, but they're flawed. So your characters can't be perfect either. So knowing that your character can reflect, but also at the same time still make terrible decisions. So being able to say like, okay, maybe they did reflect on this, but then maybe they would say something that's not as out of pocket as they did before in my notes, but maybe a version, like maybe a different version of it, or at least become more nonverbal with how they react to said person or said situation. So a lot of that kind of stuff really has changed when it comes to me writing. So I don't write every day, but when my characters do like come forth, I do like write it out, at least write in notes. It feels as if like me contributing something to my characters, me actually acknowledging them, acknowledging my story without having to sit here and, you know, pretend as if like I care to write when I'm not really fully present to write. So really just taking it day by day. Some days where I feel like, oh, maybe I'll just write a little bit of a chapter. So like, I think it was like last week I wrote chapter 17. I hadn't written since I published chapter 16 over on my Substack, and I just wrote chapter 17 like literally like last week or whatever. And it just takes time. It's I feel like writing is not such a linear process. It's always going to be up and down. It's going to be a crazy cycle. So you really just got to take it day by day and just hope for the best, really. Also too, life comes up. Like you could be like, oh, I'm gonna write every day, I'm gonna write an hour every day, but then all of a sudden you have to go get your oil changed. Maybe your car breaks down, so now you can't even go home and write because your car's broken down and you're on the side of the road. Or let's say if you have children, all of a sudden you're like, this is my hour to sit down and write. You get a call from the school saying that your child is sick, or maybe that they got in a fight. Now you can't write, and now you're mad you didn't have time to write. This is why you just take it day by day, because situations like that, things come and go all the time. Things happen all the time. As me and my aunt always say, it's like always something. It's always something. You can't always have a concrete plan when it comes to what you want to do, because life changes so much day to day, hour to hour, second to second, that you really can't anticipate everything, but you can at least have an idea of what you would like to do, or at least have the inspiration when a moment does come up, even if it's like writing on a sticky note of like, oh, that'll be a good scene to add. I count that as writing. That's something that goes towards your book. You're putting in some type of energy, but it doesn't need to be as like hardcore as to me, as a lot of writers and publishers say. Number 2, focusing on one scene at a time for me is very crucial, because the way my mind works, I'm constantly running like scenes in my head, and I'm like rapid fire speeding up the book. That was my problem with the first draft of Ghost of You, was that I was constantly like running the entire plot in my head. I was like, okay, then this scene, then this scene, then this scene, and this conclusion. And it was like, I had the mind of a movie, but when writing it, it was so hard to slow down my mind and actually like write it concisely as a book. And I think that's where I failed. I did have a beta reader, and obviously, I'm gonna be completely candid, that first version was trash, and she said so, and I completely agree with her. Like, it was bad, and it was because of that mindset I had of just like focusing on each, trying to like not even focus, but like speeding through the scenes as if it was a movie. My head was playing it like a movie when it's a book. I have to slow it down scene by scene. There are obviously, because it's a book, it needs to be, it can't be 800 pages. So you have to focus on specific scenes that are going to be the catalyst for the next situation in your story, scenes that have meaning, but you have to split that up. There has to be at least some, I feel like there has to be some lulls in between to get to that moment, and they just build up over time, which is literally just the craft of writing, essentially. So I really just had to remind myself of that it's like, you're writing a book, you're not writing a movie. If you're going to do a movie, that's script writing, and even then that's still a slower process, because it's a lot more nuanced and there's a lot more pacing to get to those kind of moments. What you're doing is literally like an episode of Happy Tree Friends, if you ever seen the show. Then you know what I mean. But it's just like speed, it's just speed run, and you're not really getting anything good, like nothing of good quality when you do it like that. So focus on one scene at a time. So for example, when I was writing, not even writing, but it was after I had finished up chapter 16, I immediately got a scene in my head of where Leo takes Dahlia to a carnival. And I was like, cool, that's a good scene. Because that's a catalyst for a different, like, you know, changing a behavior, you know, a change between them as a dynamic. But let's go back first. So reminding myself to like, that's good. We're going to keep that in mind. That's going to be a plan. But that's not going to be immediately the next chapter. I'm going to need you to calm down, like build up to it. So like chapter 17 is a little bit more of a build up from what had happened in chapter 16. So it's gradually moving up. Okay, maybe chapter 18, that's when they'll go to the carnival, maybe 19. But it's that slow process because I have other characters too that I want to integrate that I haven't integrated in there in the book so far, or maybe like they haven't come up in like several chapters. Like Dahlia's dad, wow. Dahlia's dad, okay, he was in like chapter maybe like 8, and he hasn't been brought up since then. I would love to bring him back in for like chapter 17, chapter 18, you know, bringing back certain characters that I haven't brought back in a while. Like maybe if it's even just like a phone call, because with my book, I want it to be a series. It's going to be a series called the Love Redo series, where each of the characters of each book get a chance at love again in a different way. And so really just showcasing those other characters as much as possible. So then when I get to writing the other ones, and when people read them, they have a better idea of who this person is, and they actually pop up more. So then when they get to the book about that character, it makes more sense versus like I have a character who is at the beginning and then maybe at the end, but then all of a sudden I gave them a book. It's like, but why do they have a book when we don't really know nothing about them? So I wanted to like make sense when it comes to that storyline and getting to know other characters and maybe a little bit of their background, but not hindering from the main relationship, which is Leo and Dahlia. So that's just how I'm doing. Step number 3, write for 20 minutes. I used to write for 30 minutes, but 30 minutes felt like forever to me. And even with the timer, I swear, I would set a timer for 30 minutes and the 30 minutes felt like 2 hours. It felt like forever. So I feel like it's a lot easier to just say 20 minutes or maybe even just 10 minutes, because before you know it, the timer is going to be up. And if you still have ideas running, go ahead and continue writing. But I feel like having an earlier time, like as I'm saying, like, hey, you spent 10 minutes on this. Hey, you spent 15 minutes on this. Hey, you spent 20 minutes on this. It kind of is like, oh, that's not too bad then. I can write a little bit more. But if you're writing 30 minutes or you're like, I'm gonna write for an hour, that time for me feels exhausting and draining, and then I end up doing things that aren't even writing related. Like I'll be writing over here on my little iPad, and then I'll go to Pinterest, and that's we're supposed to be writing. And like I feel like going to Pinterest is helpful in the writing process, but when you're actively writing, if your whole point for the session is to literally just write the story, going to Pinterest is not you writing the story. That's different. It's part of the writing process, but that's not actively what you wanted to do. So having that clear-cut goal of like, I actually want to write, or if you do want to go to Pinterest, only spending so much time on Pinterest, because you can get lost depending on what your Pinterest page looks like, because I know Pinterest has ads and AI art, and it's really hard to discern, and maybe your feed looks very vague and like empty. Because for me, I don't see much of AI art. I do get ads, but I just scroll past because I just don't care. But I get a lot of book recs. And so when I do go to Pinterest, I always go straight to what I'm thinking of, especially like when it comes to my story. So if literally, because my book is about a lot of second chance romance, mental health, depression, all type of thing, grief, I'll typically go in and put that word or something related to it as close as possible. So then when I search, I get images related to that. Like obviously there's still gonna be ads, but I just go past it because I just zone it out because I know what I'm looking for and I'm not trying to get distracted by everything else. So, and just spend time doing that, but I don't try to do it too much. Like I try to be as concise as possible, where it's like, especially when making my post for my characters, like I would be, because I would have like a mindset of who my character is, and characteristics about them, certain things like that. And I tried to spend no more than like 10 minutes on each one, no more than 10 minutes, because it should not take that long to find some pictures that your character is interested in. So like for Dahlia, she likes to eat ice cream at midnight. She's very much like cottagecore kind of girl, but she's quiet. She likes to read. So it's not really hard to find those pictures. So it's like just literally, but also specifically because I write Black girls, I'm always looking for a Black girl in the image, but I don't want it to be specifically the person's face, because that's not how my character looks. And I don't want to be like deceptive in that and saying like, oh, have anybody think that, oh, the character is skinny, or has long hair, short hair, like anything like they'll be like extremely specific with their face shown. I don't want them to be deceptive. I don't want to deceive anybody of that, because that's not how my character looks like. But I do want them to see a Black person doing those activities. So I'll do like pictures from the back, and that will be like part of my character persona thing. Like for Leo, he likes to he loves music. Music is his life. So a picture of the studio makes sense. Pictures of guitars, yes. He's severely depressed, and the reasons why he's severely depressed are the images that are tied to that too as well, but also not too triggering. But that's just what I do. Next up, what inspires you? So whatever really truly inspires you to write is what you should just really go for. So I feel like it's always good to try different things. But knowing what inspires you to write, what does get your juices flowing, is what works 99% of the time, obviously, because it's what truly inspires you. You can switch it up, but don't feel as if like you have to, because if what you're doing works, it's working. Don't feel as if you have to implement something different for you to feel as if like it'll make you a better writer or whatever. No, do what works for you. For me, I love listening to music. Music is how I get my book inspirations, really. I have a whole notebook of book ideas, and 90% of them are through music. If not music, through just a song lyric, something. Like I get a lot of my ideas through music. I think one of them was actually through a dream, but a lot of them are through music. That's how I get my inspiration, and that's what works for me. So I'm not gonna stop listening to music. First of all, I'm always gonna listen to music. It's just sometimes I feel as if like certain songs that pop up on my algorithm, I'm like, I don't know. But then I'll listen to it and I'm like, I can see a story here. And I won't do it exactly exactly from the song, like not exactly that exact story, but I can see a character, I can see a scene, and that will lead me to a storyline that I'm interested in, or at least like pieces of it. Because a lot of my story ideas, they maybe not be completely concise, and obviously not like book blurb material, but I at least have an idea of like, okay, this is what this kind of character does. Or like I'll write like person A, person B, and person A is like such and such and such. Person B, not sure yet. Where did they meet? I don't know. Like, but yeah, I get it through music mostly, but I did get a few ideas from dreams. I'm trying to think of one example that's not Leo and Dahlia. There was another story actually, and I got the idea from a TV show I was watching, where a character didn't know that they were a witch, and having to live an everyday life of like working odd jobs type of thing, and dealing with exes. And it kind of reminded me of a book that I did read, but it's not exactly like that, obviously. But the main character that I'm thinking of, she doesn't know she's a witch. She's working odd jobs. So she ends up working as a server, like at an event gala. Her and this boyfriend had broken up a while ago, so she's still grieving that. But she's also like, I need to make my money. I can't be worried about him whatsoever. I got to move forward. And there's someone there who is like a rude attendee, and she actually says something in her head, and the thing actually happens. And the thing is, her ex is there. And when he's trying to help the person in this situation, he looks up at her and says, "What did you do?" See, isn't that like a good idea where it's just like, oh, wait, what do you mean? She didn't do anything. Wait, what do you know that she doesn't know that we don't know? Type of thing. So that's a book idea that I have that is just purely from that scene that I had in mind. I was like, that would be a very interesting, like, fantasy story or like like, you know, like a little bit of fantasy. Like, I don't want to get to fantasy writing, but that kind of like, more like magical realism, that type of scene in a book. And that's like the beginning scene. That would be a very interesting story. I don't have any idea of how that's going to flesh out whatsoever, but that scene sticks in my head, and I know that this is going to be a very interesting situation between these characters. List up is word vomit. I know, it doesn't sound pretty, but just write. Just type it. Within that 20 minutes, just write it out. Obviously, like all other writers say, don't edit along the way, because I have problems doing that. I edit along the way, so don't edit along the way. Just let the words flow. If they're stuck a little bit, that's when I do or I'll go to my playlist for my book, because I did make a playlist over on YouTube if you want to listen to the playlist for Leo and Dahlia, and I'll listen to the playlist. And if I'm stuck in the moment, like on a character, especially like, let's say if like, I don't know how Leo is going to react to this certain situation with Dahlia, what she just said, because they have a very interesting history, okay? It's very complicated. I'll like listen to the playlist, and I'll get to the song that is very much related to his character, and I'll just like sit and think about it for a little bit. And then literally, like, once the playlist is done, sometimes my music automatically plays to other music, and then a song will come up, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. And then I'll start writing. So that's how I get my inspirations. But I just end up just writing a little bit more, just getting that perspective of a character that maybe because I'm writing obviously 2 characters. So I'm like, they're gonna have 2 different mindsets, 2 different beliefs, 2 different reactions to these situations that happened between them and when they were separate. So just really doing like that type of process. All right, so those are all the tips that I have for you guys. If any of these are helpful, or if you have any tips on your own, please put that in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to like this video. Yeah, and until next time, stay magical. Bye.